Just like the walls of Jericho, we about to break it down. I'm Run KJV, this is a little message, and this is Chris. Let's church hop. Daniel the lion's den. Pet the lions. Yeah, you're unfazed. Don't eat me. Now it's time for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yeah. You're not on fire. You're vibing. Yeah. Now it's time to march around the walls of Jericho. Keep on marching. Blow a trumpet. God's gonna do a miracle. Now it's time for Lot's wife. Stay very still. You're a pillar of salt. You're salt, Chris! Now let's feed the 5,000. Get the bread, pass the bread, get the bread, pass the bread. Oh, here's a fish, pass the fish. Here's a fish, pass the fish. Don't eat the bread. Now it's time for the Damascus Road. Block the light, block the light, block the light. It's very bright. For beginners, cower in fear. Block the light. Now it's time for the fishermen. Ooh, reel it in. For experts, you can try walking on water. Yeah, reel it in. Ooh, reel it in. Now it's time to dodge and flee temptation. Dodge temptation, flee temptation, dodge temptation, flee temptation, dodge temptation, flee temptation, dodge temptation, flee temptation, dodge temptation, flee temptation. Now it's time to overturn the money changers. Flip the tables. Yeah, this is the Lord's house. Yeah, a house of praise. Yeah. Now it's time for the whip and pray praise. Now watch me whip. Now watch me pray pray. Now watch me whip, whip. Now watch me pray pray. Now watch me whip. Now watch me pray pray. Now it's time to raid the enemy's camp. Run to the enemy's camp. Take back what he stole from you. Run to the enemy's camp. Take back what he stole from you. Run to the enemy's camp. Take back what he stole from you. Run to the enemy's camp. Now it's time to flex on Satan. Yeah. Oh, take that, Satan. I got the strength of the Lord. For experts, push pillars. Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yo, this has been Church Hop, and you've been awesome.
Good morning and welcome to Pathway Online. I'm so excited that you joined us today. We're starting something completely new. Today is week 1 in a series about...
Hello, citizens! Captain Pow is here!
Hello, Captain Pow.
Hello, citizen! Did I hear a cry for help?
No, you didn't. No cries for help.
No cat in a tree?
No cats in a tree.
No old lady in distress?
No old lady in distress.
I know! You're a damsel in distress!
Nothing I know of.
Oh. Well, I did hear someone say something about exciting news. I'd like to hear about that, maybe.
Well, yes, we do have some exciting news. Would you like to stay and hear it?
Sure. By the way, what's your name?
My name is Nanette.
Is that your secret identity?
No, that's just my identity.
Good. Well, citizen, proceed.
All right, well, like I was saying, this week we're starting a brand new series, and it's going to be really exciting. It's on the book of Esther.
Esther? Is she a superhero?
Well, I mean, you could kind of say she's like a superhero.
Oh. Does she have superpowers like me? After all, I have super strength. I can fly. I have super breath. And most importantly, I have the power strike. Hwah!
Well, it's not like that. Esther doesn't have any superpowers like that. And matter of fact, we're going to talk about something super that she did. She is definitely a hero, but we're not going to get quite there just yet.
Well, if she doesn't have superpowers, like me, What did she do that made her a superhero?
We're going to find out pretty soon. It's a pretty cool story. I hope you guys will hang out and find out what it is. But before we do, let's all stand up and have fun doing some worship.
Yeah! Woo!
He's the one who makes the sun shine. He's the one who puts the moon in the sky. He's the one who hung the stars one by one. He's the one who makes the birds sing. He's the one who makes your dreams so high. He's the one who makes me smile. Day by day, Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Spider-Man. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Superman. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Batman. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than anyone. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Bobby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Better than Action Man. Better than anyone. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend. Jesus, you're my superhero. You're my star, my best friend.
All right, before we can really talk about the book of Esther, we need to set the stage. See, the book of Esther opens up with the king of Persia throwing a really big party. Wait a minute, did I say the king of Persia? Why are we talking about Persia? I thought we were talking about the Jews. Well, let's stop for just a minute and let's backtrack so we can figure out where we are in Israel's history. All right, so we're going to go back for a moment and remember when the Israelites came out of Egypt and they were in the wilderness and they made a covenant with God. Well, part of that covenant came along with when they obeyed. There were some pretty awesome and amazing blessings. But when they disobeyed, there'd be some pretty bad consequences. And unfortunately, as time goes by, the Israelites begin to disobey and they stop following God. And we can read about it in Deuteronomy 28. God laid out for them what would happen when they began to disobey. And there's a lot of bad consequences there. But for the book of Esther, what we want to hear is that he said they would be driven out by a nation that did not know and be scattered among the whole earth. So this is what happened. The Israelites were carried off by their enemies to Babylon. Well, some time has gone by, and some of the Israelites have actually been allowed to go back to Jerusalem. But some have remained in what is now called Persia. And this is where we find Esther. All right, so let's get back to the story of Esther. When it opens up, the king, Xerxes, is throwing a really big party. So he was extremely wealthy and he had a lot of just amazing things in his kingdom and he wanted to show it off.
Captain Pow says, "Fun fact, citizen, King Xerxes' party lasted for 6 whole months. And then he did another party for the people of Susa that lasted 7 days. What a party!"
At the end of the 7-day party, King Xerxes called for his queen, Vashti. So she was an exceedingly beautiful woman, and he wanted her to come out for everyone to admire her beauty. But when she heard that the king had sent for her, instead of coming, she said no. Now, we don't really know the reasons why she said no, but she did. And that was a pretty big deal. You don't say no to the king. So as a result of her saying no to the king, he decided she would never see him again. She was no longer the queen of Persia. Sometime later, King Xerxes' personal attendants, his servants, had a good idea for him. They said, "Why don't you search throughout all of the land, all of your provinces, for some beautiful young women? These young ladies can be brought before you, and you could look and choose among them a new queen." Well, among the young ladies who began to arrive in the city of Susa was a Jewish girl named Esther. Now, Esther's parents had died when she was young, and she was raised by her uncle Mordecai. And before she went, Mordecai told her, he said, "Make sure that you don't tell anyone that you are a Jew."
Important fact! Don't forget to remember that.
The young ladies were brought to Susa, but they were not immediately taken before the king. Actually, they underwent some beauty treatments, oils, spices, perfumes, and not just 1 or 2, for an entire year they were going through these things to make them more beautiful.
Nothing quite like a year at the spa.
After her beauty treatments were complete, it was Esther's turn to go before the king. When the king saw her, he favored her more than any of the other young women who had come before him. So he took the royal crown and he placed it on her head, and he named Esther the queen. And what did he do after that? The king threw a party.
What a party! Celebrate good times, come on!
Sounds like a pretty good place to end our lesson today, doesn't it? But we're not quite done. There's still one more important thing we need to talk about. Remember Mordecai, Esther's uncle? Well, he loved Esther. He had raised her, and so he hung out pretty close to the palace in these days when all this was going on with her. And one day when he was sitting outside at the king's gate, he heard a couple of the king's officers talking, and they were angry, and they began to plot to kill the king.
Look out, citizens! There's evil afoot!
Well, Mordecai told Esther, and Esther told the king. And Esther gave credit for this news to Mordecai. There was an investigation, and it was found out to be true. The officers were hanged, but Mordecai wasn't awarded for what he had done. But the king did make note of it in his books for the kings.
Important fact! Don't forget it!
Have you ever stopped to think, how did Esther feel about all of this? I mean, here she was taken from the family that she knew and the home that she lived in, taken to a palace. She was put through all of these beauty treatments and then taken before the king. And next thing you know, she's the queen. Some pretty big stuff was happening to her. You know, it could be kind of fun to think about that. So why don't you hit the pause button for just a minute and talk with your family. How would you feel if you were Esther? Have you ever wondered why things are happening in your life like they are? Things sometimes not make sense? You know, the Bible doesn't really tell us how Esther felt when all this was going on, but I would imagine It's very possible she could have been asking some of those same questions. How in the world did I end up here? What is happening? What is the reason? What's the purpose behind all this? Well, don't worry, we're going to get to that, but not this week. So hang tight and make sure you come back so you can get the rest of the story.
Wow, citizens! What a great story! We have kings, we have queens, we have dastardly plots. I wonder what's going to happen next time. I guess we'll have to stay tuned. In the meantime, citizens, I need your help. I need your help looking for my arch nemesis, Chaos. She's around here somewhere. Captain Pow, away!